Hazaaron Khaahishein Aisi, a brilliant ghazal by Ghalib, was brought back into the spotlight by the film of the same name. Over time, generations have grown distant from the richness of their own language, not by choice but by neglect. Linguistic colonization by English has taught us to admire Wordsworth and Shelley, and it's wonderful to be able to do that, but not at the cost of forgetting our own poetic heritage. This video series is a small attempt to make these treasures accessible again for anyone who wishes to reconnect. Going back to the ghazal, here is the title couplet. Those of you following my Urdu reading course on Udemy can pause the video here and try to read these lines in the original script. And for the rest of you, here are the English and Hindi transliterations. The lines are Hazaaron Khaahishein Aisi कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले, बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान लेकिन फिर भी कम निकले. First, a little note on pronunciation. The word is khaahish and not khwahish because in Urdu, a waw, which is this letter here and which gives us the sound w, when preceded by a khe and followed by an alif is always silent. So this word instead of khwahish is pronounced khaahish. Similarly, it's khab, not khwab, and tankha, not tankhwa. So in the first line, Hazaaron Khaahishein Aisi कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले, Ghalib is saying that he has thousands of desires, each so intense, so overwhelming that it feels worth dying for. His heart figuratively dies with longing for each of these desires. And in the next line, बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान लेकिन फिर भी कम निकले. He's saying that many of his wishes have come true over time, yet they seem too few, expressing a sense of endless yearning because of the vastness of what the heart still craves. Notice here that in the second line, he's saying mere, बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान, and not mere. And that is because of the poetic license that all poets have to modify certain words according to what fits the meter and rhyme of the poem. The next couplet is Nikalna Khuld se Aadam का सुनते आए हैं लेकिन बहुत be-aabruu होकर तेरे कूचे से हम निकले. Khuld means paradise. It also means eternity, but not in this line. Ghalib says, we've heard since times immemorial of Adam being expelled from paradise. Then, बहुत be-aabruu होकर तेरे कूचे से हम निकले. Be-aabruu, as you might already know, means disgraced. Ghalib says, I was cast out of your street in deep disgrace and humiliation. In these lines, Ghalib compares his expulsion from his beloved street to Adam's fall from heaven, questioning why he must endure a humiliation even greater than Adam's for a far lesser sin, that of simply loving his beloved. Again, notice the use of tere here instead of tere. Going on to the next couplet, it reads, हुई जिनसे तवक्को खस्तगी की दाद पाने की, वो हमसे भी ज़्यादा खस्ता ए तेगे सितम निकले. In the first line, the word tavaqqo means expectation or hope. Khastagi means being wounded emotionally or physically. Ghalib says, the ones from whom I had expected sympathy in my wounded state, हुई जिनसे तवक्को खस्तगी की दाद पाने की, वो हमसे भी ज़्यादा खस्ता ए तेगे सितम निकले. Khasta means wounded, weak or fragile. Tegh means sword, and sitam means tyranny or cruelty. So he says, the ones from whom I had expected sympathy in my wounded state turned out to be even more wounded than I, struck by the sword of tyranny. The part khasta-e teghe sitam means struck or wounded by the sword of tyranny. This couplet reflects the universality of pain. Those we expect will comfort us are often themselves broken. Our next couplet reads, मोहब्बत में नहीं है फ़र्क जीने और मरने का, उसी को देख कर जीते हैं जिसका फिर पे दम निकले. So in the first line, Ghalib says, in love there is no difference between living and dying. And in the second one, he says, I live by gazing upon the very infidel for whom I die of longing. You know that the word kafir literally means non-believer, but in Urdu poetry, it often refers affectionately or ironically to a beloved who doesn't acknowledge the lover's devotion. So someone who is faithless in the way of being emotionally indifferent. Going on to the next couplet, it reads, डरे क्यों मेरा कातिल क्या रहेगा उसकी गर्दन पर वो खून जो चश्मे तर से उम्र भर यूं दम बदम निकले डरे क्यों मेरा कातिल क्या रहेगा उसकी गर्दन पर Ghalib says, why should my murderer fear? Will my blood remain on his neck? The idea of blood on the neck symbolizes guilt and culpability. In the next line, chashme tar means tearful eyes. And dam badam means every moment. So when he says, wo khoon jo chashme tar se umr bhar yu dam badam nikle, he means that blood which from my tearful eyes has been flowing every moment of my life. Here Ghalib says that there is no visible sign of his death, no blood to prove it because he's been dying a slow death of longing. Therefore, his killer, the beloved, has no reason to fear blame or accountability. Going on to the next couplet, we have Magar likhwaae koi usko khat to humse likhwaae hui subha aur ghar se kaan par rakh kar qalam nikle. He says, if someone must write a letter to her, let them have me write it. Hui subha aur ghar se kaan par rakh kar qalam nikle. Morning came and I left home with the pen tucked behind my ear, ready to write. This couplet expresses the poet's longing to communicate with the beloved, even if indirectly. The next sher is Bharam khul jaye zalim tere qaamat ki darazi ka agar is turrae pur pecho kham ka pecho kham nikle. In the first line, Bharam is a modification of the word Bhram, meaning illusion. Qaamat is form or figure, and darazi is length or height, referring to the size of something. So when he says, Bharam khul jaye zalim tere qaamat ki darazi ka, he's saying the illusion, O cruel one, of your grand form would be exposed. Agar is turrae pur pecho kham ka pecho kham nikle. Turra is curls or locks of hair, and in this construction, pur pecho kham, pur means full of, pech means twists and turns, and kham also means curved or twisted. So pur pecho kham means full of twists and turns, and therefore turrae pur pecho kham means twisted locks of hair. So he's saying agar is turrae pur pecho kham ka pecho kham nikle, which means that if these twisted locks were to lose their twists and turns. In other words, if they were to unravel. So altogether, the couplet says that the illusion, O cruel one, of your grand form would be exposed if these twisted locks were to lose their twists and turns, if they were to unravel. Ghalib suggests that the beloved's grandeur is a mere illusion, sustained by her outward styling. If that were undone, her true lesser self would be revealed. The next couplet is हुई इस दौर में मंसूब मुझसे बादा आशामी फिर आया वो ज़माना जो जहाँ में जाम जम निकले. In the first line, mansoob means associated with or attributed to, and bada ashami means wine drinking, since bada is Persian for wine and ashamidan means to drink. So when he says hui is daur mein mansoob mujhse bada ashami, he's saying in this era wine drinking came to be associated with me. In the next line, jame jam refers to the mythical wine cup of Jamshid, a Persian king. In classical Persian or Urdu poetry, this cup symbolizes wisdom, foresight, hidden truths, or mystical vision. It was said to reveal the entire world within itself. So when Ghalib says, Phir aaya wo zamana jo jahan mein jam nikle, he means then came a time when the cup of Jamshid appeared in the world. So what Ghalib is saying in these lines is that in his time he was seen merely as a drunkard, But then came an age when the world discovered the cup of Jamshid, and with it, the deeper truth that Ghalib had always carried. And with that, we come to the last share of this ghazal, my personal favorite. कहाँ मैखाने का दरवाज़ा गालिब और कहाँ वाइज, पर इतना जानते हैं कल वो जाता था कि हम निकले. Wise is the religious preacher. In the first line, Ghalib is saying, what connection is there between the tavern's door, Ghalib, and the preacher? पर इतना जानते हैं कल वो जाता था कि हम निकले. But this much I do know, that as I stepped out, he was stepping in. In this couplet, Ghalib, in his trademark witty and subversive style, expresses the hypocrisy of moral preachers who condemn sin in public but indulge in it in private. That brings us to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do let me know by liking it and by subscribing to the channel. And if you'd also like to be able to read Urdu in its original script, check out my course Read Urdu in 20 Lessons on Udemy. You'll find the link for it in the description below.